ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of 7 Minutes, where we interview who's who in the 518, influencers, professionals, everything. So we've had a great time doing this show. I'm Chris Wright. Please welcome Beverly Swim. She's my partner and co-host on this. And today I'm very, very, very excited to be talking to Dr. Benita Zahn. Okay, and she's a former news anchor. I didn't want to say retired news anchor because you may go back one day. Who knows?
Well, I left News Channel 13. First of all, thank you so much for having me. This is so just delightful. And Beverly and I have connected. We both know each other through working out, basically, and staying fit. But I left Channel 13, but I didn't leave journalism. I'm still writing for a couple of publications. It was just time to move on and embrace something else.
Yeah, because I don't like to use that word retired because people are ready to throw dirt on you once you say retired.
Yeah, trust me, I am not retired. I got home tonight. I had, one client had COVID. So I had 4 clients, finished the paperwork, got home, had a convo with the husband, and quick changed.
Gotcha.
So I'm
awesome.
in cash flows.
So what business are these clients in? What are you providing for these clients?
So I'm a nationally certified health and wellness coach, and I'm working with clients at Capital Cardiology. So I help them craft the plan to be, I call my business, be your best. And many of them have hypertension, high cholesterol, obesity, some a combination, some have type 2 diabetes. And it's very difficult, as I'm sure you know, and your listeners know, to embark on a plan. It's taking that first step and then knowing what's the next step and how do you craft your new map for wellness. It's not about going on a diet, because that implies you're going to go off it.
Right.
I mean, who doesn't have that t-shirt? This is about really, I'll repeat myself, crafting a plan for your tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And what that plan looks like and how it suits you. And it's fascinating. I simply love it.
How do you get your clients to not look at everything that's around them when it comes to food? Because really food is such a personal thing, but they're really bombarded.
Right. It's not, we don't look at it in that regard. So first, a lot of the clients have to learn how to measure. Somebody will say to me, I just had a small bowl. Well, what you think is a small bowl and I think is a small bowl are very different. We sadly had to put down one of our dogs, and she had a lot of pain, and she was taking gabapentin for pain, but it didn't taste good. She would go, shake her head. But she has a sweet tooth, so the vet said, give it to her with a little vanilla ice cream. So we had a little bowl. I found these 2 little bowls for that. Now that to me is a little bowl. Somebody else may think 6 ounces is a small bowl or 8 ounces. So first, we have to reset our eyes. Everybody's got measuring cups. And if you don't, go get some. And measuring spoons and maybe a kitchen scale. But learn what's a portion. And then know what you're actually eating. And how to adjust that. So it's not about the food per se. There's no bad foods. I was joking when I talk, there aren't. Have you ever seen a Snickers bar pick up a handgun? Exactly. But we've all seen people pick up too many Snickers bars.
Yes,
and do
exactly.
Damage to themselves.
Right.
So let's stop reviling food and let's start looking at how we eat, why we eat, when we eat, the speed we eat, all these things, because ultimately we got to also work with our biology.
So Benita, you have a master's and a doctorate in bioethics.
Yep.
And I have never heard that term before. I read this, the meaning definition says the study of ethical, social, and legal issues that arise in biomedicine and biomedical research. I still didn't know what that meant. So kind of explain what bioethics, what that is.
I'll give it to you in 2 ways, okay? It's autonomy.
Okay.
It's empowering you to drive your bus, which is sort of the basis of also health coaching. And then it's also looking at during the pandemic, this was one of those lessons in class in bioethics that you go, yeah, that's never going to happen, but it did. So if you only have 100 respirators, and you've got 1,000 people who need them, who gets them and why? That's a bioethical issue. If a couple is married and they create embryos for babies and they divorce, to whom do those embryos belong and who gets to use them?
Wow.
You know, those are the kinds of questions. So you may be familiar, Mayor Adams in New York City was, after there've been a lot of problems with the folks with mental illness, and we're gonna round them up, we're gonna put them all, you know, in some island somewhere. Well, as soon as they saw, they went, oh, dude, that's not gonna happen.
Right.
Ethically, that's not appropriate. So I'm fortunate that I've recently joined with a bioethics consortium in the state. And don't you know that's the first issue they're working on?
Yeah. Wow.
You know, what do? You know, back in the 70s when we closed down all of the psychiatric hospitals, it was also supposed to be followed up with community support and housing for that community, and it never happened. So we took these folks with it who have an illness and dumped them on the street.
You were very up close and personal with COVID-19, like you were in the trenches. Tell me some of the positives that came out of this pandemic, because we always talk about, everyone knows the negatives. What was the positives that came out of it?
You know, I think for the positive, you have to start looking on personal levels, that there were families that spent time together, couples who reconnected. I think it was a very challenging time. So in that regard, I think many people found out what they were made of. As a society, I think that book is still to be written.
Correct.
I'm not, you give me a poke and, you know, I believe in science, so we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. Okay, gotcha. Can we talk about the fact that you're an actress? Now, I learned, not only you're an actress, but you did stage and screen. And you've won an Emmy?
For my work at News Channel 13, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And I've won awards through Theater Association of New York State for performance, so I'm very blessed. I've worked with some wonderful people.
So besides Proctor and Capitoria Theater and all the local theaters, have you done anything in New York City?
Number of years ago, I did. It was a staged reading of a new show. We did it at the Houseman, which was off Broadway. I've done Mrs. Maisel as
you did. Yes, you did.
Times. Yeah.
Who were you in Mrs.
Maisel?
Maisel?
For a third time, and then I couldn't go. I had 6 clients that day. And then 4 didn't show. Everybody had something else going on. So yeah, so that's been great.
Are you in anything upcoming that we can come and see you?
I'm waiting to hear. I'm waiting to hear.
Okay, she can't tell. It's a
When
secret.
I know, I'll let you know. I think I'm cast in something, but until I get the official, you know, my sister, you got this role, I'll reserve it.
Now you posted.
I don't know if you know, Chris, but I'm also an actress.
Oh my God! Look at that.
Yep.
Oh my, there we go.
Definitely.
So you got to let us know, Benita, and so we can come and see you.
Now you posted something about cabaret. That's not the secret, though. You're in cabaret or no?
No, years ago I did cabaret. Okay. What the heck did I do? Not this November. The November before, I did that with the Two of Us Productions. They perform out of Columbia County. Usually they use Taconic Hills High School, but because of COVID, we were using, you haven't lived until you've acted in the Grange in Copic.
Gotcha. Now I saw that you've been a keynote speaker at some events. Is that something you do often, professional speaking? Yes. And you travel throughout the country and do that?
No, I'd love to go throughout the country. So if anybody's listening, this mama is available.
So you enjoy keynote speaking?
Oh yeah, I talk about, it's fun. So I've been talking about finding more joy.
Okay.
And it's not out there. It's at home, you know?
Yes, yeah.
Right?
True.
And I've been talking about that for years. Now, post-COVID, during COVID and all, now that interest is that much greater to hear about that. So I've been very fortunate to talk about that. I talk about that a lot with groups. I talk about food. Food is medicine sounds kind of dry, so I have a better title to it. But, you get to choose. Do you want to look like a chocolate chip cookie or carrot, or maybe a little in between? And foods that will help you tamp down your stress. And you can eat.
Yeah.
Chill.
And you
with all of this hyphenated stuff that you do that we talked about, how do you manage your time?
I keep a calendar. This is easy because I work at Capital Cardiology 3 days a week. I keep Thursdays and Fridays for myself. One Friday a month. I teach sort of the mental health. Capital Cardiology has now offers the Pritikin Intensive Cardiac Rehab Program, and there is a mental health component. And I teach that once a month, sometimes twice. And now it's been so successful, they're going to be adding another day. So my Thursdays are going to get eaten up a little, but I love that. I love working with that client base. I really do.
Awesome. So, I'm a podcaster. You're a podcaster. Tell me about Everything Theater. You have a podcast called Everything Theater. Mm-hmm. And what episode are you on? Have you done over 100 episodes yet?
I got to take a look.
Okay, that's okay.
Ellen, so my co-host is Ellen Cribbs, another actor. And we bought the equipment. So she's been, and then, in the old days, we met at News Channel 13. People would come in the evening. We'd sit in the conference room and do it. And then, of course, sometimes we went on location. Now we've moved, just like you, to Zoom. So I do the booking and handle that side. And Ellen she's got the equipment and takes care of posting. And then I take care of the social media. That's a lot of work, as you well know.
Yes.
Yes. But so we haven't started the new season yet. The last season has Chris Foster and Patrick White, who are currently in England, jolly old.
That's the one I listened to today. That's the episode I listened to today.
Right.
Because I wanted to hear it.
And now we're going to gear back up. Yeah.
Good for you guys. Are you sponsored yet? Do you have any sponsors?
Not a sponsor per se, but anyone interested, you can buy the green room, is what we call it, because when you wait to go on stage, you're in the green room, and the green room gets you 3 hits in the podcast and on our social media, and we're very inexpensive. So if you're interested, let us know. We've got a great audience.
Wow.
Are you sponsored?
Not yet. No, you have to get content. Once you get a lot of content, that's when sponsors will start looking at you. And as I told you, I was very sincere when you asked me, hey, Chris, why are you doing this project? I said, you know what? During the pandemic, a lot more people had started doing social media. And a lot of our 518 influencers have been out there, but people didn't really get a chance to know them. So I just wanted people to be able to, get to know more about people who are doing well, people who survived the pandemic professionally and personally. And it's like, hey, let's talk to these people. So that was genuine. Now, if this gets big and a sponsor reaches out to me and go, hey, I love your show, I want to sponsor you, I'll go, sure. Me and Beverly, we can get some money.
Right. Right now, when they buy the green room, it covers the cost of staying on with Libsyn. We use Libsyn to, disseminate us. We're on basically wherever you get your podcast, you'll find Everything Theater. And I should point out the theme song, Ellen and I sing, and it was written by a local fella who, come on, it's going to escape me. He's going to slant. It'll come to me in a second.
Yeah.
But we all met at Capitol Rep doing Shakespeare in Love.
Oh, really? Okay.
In the old Capitol Rep, in the makeup room, you sat, down, so the lead was here, and then the next, and Ellen and I sat next to each other, and we started talking how we both wanted to do podcasts, and we went, let's, and that's how it was born. She's a fabulous performer.
You did something with Jerry Gretzinger, the singing anchors. Beverly, you know Jerry Gretzinger, right? The other anchor? He's on 13 too. Is he still there?
He was. Oh, no, Jerry's left, and he's now at Oasis, Office of Alcohol and Substance Abuse Services.
Okay, that answers my question, because I was wondering if you guys were going to take the singing anchors on the road and do a show.
So, Jess Layton was our 11 o'clock anchor, and she sang with us for a long time. And then she went down. She works now for MSNBC as, an anchor, one of those spot anchors. So she's doing great. And our chief cook and bottle washer arranger moved from Hebron to New Jersey.
Okay.
So it's real. We talked about, this was the first year in at least 10 that I didn't sing Christmas. So I'm the girl who was standing in the supermarket singing harmony with Muzak. It was pathetic.
That's outstanding.
So you're a vegetarian?
I do fish and some chicken. I'm on and off with chicken, but always fish. There's a time I ate no flesh.
Well, and I asked that for a reason. I was kind of segueing to you being the fact that you're a health coach. And do we overeat meat, or
yes,
we as humans overeat meat, and it deteriorates our body? I'm going to assume
it's a lot of work for the body. That's look, there are some people who are hardcore meat and potato folks. Okay, but the push is to include more plants in your diet. Beverly,
I also am a pescatarian, so I understand what you're saying. I totally agree with you. That was a good question, Chris, but aren't we also eating too much processed food as well?
Oh, no question. And by the way, I'm drinking water, so if you're wondering, it's you got to get what is it, 60? The figure is 64 ounces by some school, and some will argue that we should have more. So I keep my water going. It's good for you. Yeah, processed food. Interesting study out recently that obesity really exploded, no pun intended, in the 80s. And why? We never saw type 2 diabetes in kids. It was always known as adult onset diabetes. Right. Nobody's really sure why. They looked at process. They looked at all kinds of, is it brown fat, the leptin, ghrelin. Right. Nobody's really sure. It's fascinating.
So you said earlier that you tore your Achilles?
Yes.
Was that from running a marathon or playing tennis, or what?
I was setting up to hit a forehand. I was getting rated. Beverly will know this. I was at Tri-City, and I set up to hit a forehand. And I was a 3.5 player, but I only needed a 3.0 rating to join a friend's team. And as I set up to hit the forehand, you feel it, you hear it. And I hit the ground. Oof. And the guy who was rating me didn't believe I was hurt. And he said, I've seen grown men blow their Achilles, so you're probably fine. So I stuffed my foot in my pumps and dragged my foot for 2 days. I called my doc, who didn't think it was torn. I said, could you just wrap it so I'll get a little sympathy at work? I lost what's called dorsiflexion. You can't lift your foot up. That's how you know you've blown out your Achilles. Girlfriend of mine was on me. She said, I'm going to bring you crutches and you've got to get this checked. I called Dr. Jimmy Stryker, who I knew, and he had a meeting up at the Roost, and the station's right down the street. I came off the set at, it was 5:30, and at 5:35, he knew I knew how to cuss, because he told me I'd blown my Achilles and I needed surgery in the morning.
Oh, no. How long ago was that?
A lot of years, 20 years ago. It took me about a year. So back then, your recovery was different. Came back a year later, played tennis again, and then I blew out my gastroc, which was not a big deal. But I said, you got to listen to God. I was running, had become my life. Those were my peeps. I had a posse. And so I gave up tennis.
But you still run? You still run?
Oh, yeah, still run.
And you ran a marathon after tearing your Achilles?
5 of them.
Congratulations.
5 marathons?
Yes.
And then, and you ran Saratoga first day 5K. Yes. So that's like a walk in the park compared to a marathon. you probably sprinted the whole thing.
No, during the pandemic, this was interesting. During the pandemic, a group out of Syracuse did the One New York Challenge. And what that was, you signed on to cover a certain amount of miles. It was a lot. I think it was like 30 miles a week. And the money raised went to a number of charities. And a girlfriend of mine, the gal I run with now, we both signed up. And then we signed up for a second one, and I did something concurrent with it. And then we were burnt out. Yeah. So we've been power walking. And now we're fartlicking. Fartlick is a Swedish word. I know it sounds dirty. Speed play. So like you would normally, so say you're running normally, you're running at your, say, a 10-minute pace, and then you run as hard as you can for the next minute. It's speed play. You do pickups of speed.
Okay.
So we did that for a half marathon last spring virtually, and we paced it like 13:30, which is, some people call that running.
Wow.
So now we're getting back into running. We've just burnt out.
So let's see. You're like speed walking in like 13:30. I got like a 12-minute mile, so I might as well just just speed walk. Exactly.
Yeah, that's but you know, we'd walk like at a 14:50 and then pick it up and run a little, you know, for a minute and then back off.
Right. I don't have many more questions. I did want to ask you about your experience.
I
got a couple fun ones.
Go ahead. I do too. So go ahead, Beverly.
All right. What advice would you give 18-year-old Benita?
Ooh.
Just believe. Believe harder.
Mm-hmm. Believe harder. Gotcha.
And yourself?
Myself.
Believe in yourself?
Oh.
At all. It's going to work out. It's going to work out. You know, I mean, at 18, I didn't go off to college with the biggest set of, well, maybe I did. But just believe.
You know that, Beverly, I was going to ask a similar question to that. What do you tell young college students who want to be in journalism these days?
Don't.
Because you said don't. Journalism has changed over the last 20 years. So, I mean, what do you tell people who take journalism and go to Northwestern and Syracuse and they think they're going to come out and make the big bucks right away? What do you tell these kids?
Well, they might. The world's different than it was when I did. When I came out, there were only 3. You know, Satellite News Network was just starting, and then CNN. Yeah. So the opportunities were not as great as they are now. Yeah. But I would give them the same advice. Be well-rounded. You know a lot about a lot of stuff, because you don't know where you're going to land and what you're going to be offered and what you're going to be called on. And walk through doors. You know, sometimes where you think you want to go, if you don't go through that one door because you think that's not the right one, well, that's going to lead you to the right one, or it's going to lead you somewhere else that's going to be so much more fulfilling. Walk through doors.
What is one of the mistakes that you made a long time ago that you were able to really turn around and make it into a positive?
You know, I saw you. I have no clue. I have no clue. You know,
that's honest.
That's really good. I'm impressed. I can list out 20 mistakes I made last week.
You know, but it's made the mistake and then turn it around. You know, I don't know. You know, stuff happens. Yeah. And if I dwell on yesterday, then I'm not looking at tomorrow, and I'm not in the moment of today.
Always forward.
What about the Blue Angels? Tell us about that.
Oh, that was wonderful. It was a story I got to fly with them. And, you know, it's fascinating because you're not looking out. You know how in a plane, when you're sitting, you kind of look out the window. You just look over your shoulder. You're looking down. Okay. And I got a sensitive equilibrium. And let's just say I didn't heave. I didn't heave. At one point, we got quiet, but it was fabulous.
How fast were you? Do you know how fast you were going?
We pulled 3.5 Gs at one point, and we did a split S. You know, it's where you come around and twist. And that was, I wish he had told me not to let my head lean forward. That's where I got a little, I got a lot nauseous. I should have just been leaning back, but it was great. Woo, best rush.
Gotcha. Well, we always end with this question. What's next for Benita 2023 and beyond?
Hopefully more helping people, more theater, more learning, more opportunity to engage with folks, and, you know, really learn and share some love. And I know that sounds corny, but I really mean that.
Not at all.
Well, that's all I have, Beverly. You all set?
Oh, good. Thank you so much for being with us.
Benita, thanks so much. We really appreciate it. Yes.
It was a pleasure. All the best to you. Be well. That's the best.
Be well. And I will listen to your podcast because I know nothing about theater, but I will learn. Okay. Well, have a good evening. Thank you so much for coming on.
Take care. Thanks. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.